everybody. Welcome to the Have You Ever Played podcast, the only podcast with a 1% chance upon opening. I'm Matt, aka Matt Fun Dude.
And I'm James, aka James04E. I was expecting you to say something after the 1% chance on opening, but
No, it's like opening a crate. It's
oh
like
man,
it goes into my week. A little
man, it
spoilers
was
ahead
like
about I've been playing CS:GO,
uh,
aka gambling the game.
yeah. I saw one of my friends was saying like he shared with me like a tweet. It basically said like 1% crit chance on the player. Never play around it. If it happens, it's cool. If it doesn't happen, you're not unlucky. It's just not supposed to happen. 1% chance on the enemy. It could be literally any hit. You have to play around it at all times. And the moment you don't, you're gonna get critted.
Yeah, basically. That's pretty
Man,
much. It's like XCOM and how it's like in those games you have a like 90% chance to hit, but it's a 50-50. It's pretty much everything in that game is the 50. It's a 50
yeah.
50. Same thing with RuneScape drops. Basically a 50-50 chance
Hmm.
every time. But anyway, hello James. How
Hello.
how are you? We missed last week, but how are you doing?
I am good. I've been busy.
Mhm.
Had a little family reunion over the weekend. It was nice.
Nice. How'd that go?
Went well. Saw a lot of people. Did a lot of things. It's in New York, which was kind of
Uh,
a pain. I had to deal with Boston traffic, then New York traffic in one drive.
did any like crazy shenanigans happen? Like did any like do you have any like family members who were like, "Oh man, I hope Uncle Ricky doesn't come and, start talking about the flat earth
Oh
and
no,
whatnot."
no, I don't have anything like that, thankfully.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, my family's pretty normal generally.
No
I
chairs were thrown or anything.
yeah, no chairs were thrown. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely none of that.
So it's a standard affair. All right.
Yeah,
Well, outside
nice.
of that, what have you been playing? Have you been playing any games? Were you playing any games on the road?
Not on the road, but I did. I'm still pretty into Remnant 2. So what I found out about Remnant 2, there are lots of builds that I can do that I just don't have the stuff for. So I'm in like farming mode right now. Like I'm basically replaying the game. I went up like one difficulty because when I've complete the difficulty, I get the weapon that I need for my build. It's like a standard a standard knight sword, but when you do a heavy attack on it, it does like a ranged projectile that'll hit. It'll hit
Oh, the
one enemy,
Moonlight
then
Greatsword.
disappear. Pretty much. Well, the Moonlight Greatsword pierces through. Actually, does it pierce through enemies? I think it might depend on the game.
I don't think it. Well, at least
I
in
don't
Elden
remember.
Ring, I don't think it does.
Yeah, but
I don't remember.
there's another sword that's more similar to the
Maybe it
Moonlight
does.
Greatsword. It's called World's Edge, but you get that for completing the hardest difficulty, which is
Damn.
I'm kind of going back and forth on how I feel about that because so on one hand, I think it is good to reward people for completing the hardest difficulty. But on the other hand, it's a very unique weapon that like you can make entire builds around. But like once you've completed the hardest difficulty, it's like, well, I would have wanted this build to complete the hardest difficulty.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
kind of the thing about like
But
post game reward like that, where it's like,
yeah.
I'm done. Like by the time you've beaten that, I'm over it.
Yeah. But there's gonna be DLC. So what I'm just doing right now is I'm doing second hardest difficulty to at least get a melee weapon that I can use at range. Then the next highest difficulty is gonna be like the best melee weapon for like both melee range and mid range. So
So whilst you were playing Remnant 2, I've actually been playing Remnant 1.
hmm
Um, and that game, it didn't grip me at first, but I think I've started to hit some like addiction mechanics that I'm
yeah.
like, oh wait, I kind of see how this could be pretty fun.
Yeah, it takes a minute to ramp up. I'm
Mhm.
trying to remember the planets. Did you get any of the DLC?
I believe I have all the DLC.
Okay, yeah. Let me just look up the worlds on that in that game because I remember like the first couple worlds were kind of meh.
Yeah, while you look that up, I'll describe to you where I am. So basically, I was getting a little like I'm like, this is a little repetitive toward the beginning of the game because
hmm
you really fight the same like two enemy types for like the first like 2.5 areas, I would say you
Yeah.
fight like generic grunt and like small grunt, and I'm like, wow, man,
Mhm.
enemy variety is really bad in this game. Um,
Yeah.
and and yeah, and then I was like, you know what? I'm like going through the motions, and I'm like, this is fun, but it's
Mhm.
not like gripping me. You know what I mean? But then I
Mhm.
got to like the labyrinth thing, and I'm like in this
Yeah.
weird. I'm like in another like dimension or world or something. I'm like, this is wacky, and there's a lot of enemy. There's actually like a weirdly large amount of enemies now that are different.
Mhm.
Um, and then I got my first actual choice, I think, with the Undying King. That's basically where I'm at right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, the
Uh,
labyrinth is really cool. It's in both games. It's
yeah.
kinda so the Remnant story is a little weird. It kinda doesn't go all in with the, like, multiverse stuff and things like that, but it does have, like, multiple dimensions and planets and stuff like that, and the labyrinth is kinda the place where lots of that, like, converges.
Yeah, I
And
thought
there's
that was
lots
very
of
unique as a setting.
yeah, and there's lots of cool secrets in those places as well. Because I think you probably came across areas where the floor would, like, build under you. Um,
There was like a flashing floor that you could probably do to do a puzzle of some kind.
yeah, yeah, there are some where you basically have to do, like, a trust fall, and, like, the floor will, like, build under you when you jump off the map, like, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I did that. Um, I also I found an area that was just like an optional area. I found a few of those so far.
Mhm,
An optional area in which I got like this mace weapon that was cool. It's like a cool new
mhm,
weapon. I'm like, yeah, I'm digging that. That's neat. Um, Undying King man was actually kind of difficult solo, so I had to I
yeah,
I learned how to use the adventure mode and ran through some of the swamp and I got the bug boss that you can totally talk to because I didn't even really look this up. So there's a bug man, he's like brain bug or
yeah,
something, and he doesn't have a traditional health bar. So I'm like, I think you could probably do something here to like talk to this NPC.
yeah, there's
And you
lots of different
can,
secrets with,
yeah,
especially in that area. I think the place you're talking about is Corsus. They actually did a
yes,
DLC. The first DLC almost exclusively expanded upon that area, so it's actually it might be the world with the most content.
yeah, and apparently you can skip it completely if you kill King Man. So
Yeah, I think that's what. So when the game first came out, I think people were kind of confused because, like, they would kill the king dude and they would just skip the area and they're like, "That's it. That's a whole planet." And then they made a DLC for it and they're like, "Oh,
yeah, so I'm gonna go do it, even though I killed him. But it was funny that one, I do appreciate that you can actually replay the level and like do both choices in one playthrough. I think that's awesome.
hmm
Uh, but I also like how that. I mean, one thing that's kind of lacking is like don't kill him and you get like one. I think it's like a melee weapon or something.
yeah,
Or kill him and get 15 things and a perk and this and the key and this and another item and like it's just like clearly a better choice.
yeah." I think the idea was the Undying King. There was kind of a culture on it, or like that's like probably the hardest boss in the game.
Really?
So yeah,
Yeah, he was kind of hard.
so like some people just chose to skip, just like we're like, okay, well, I'll just skip it. So I'll just take like the weapon, and then like the people who actually did it got like rewarded more.
Yeah, it took me maybe like 5 or 6 tries to kill
Yeah.
him solo. I think any boss in this game is only difficult when you're playing solo because they spawn ads that like are kind of hard. They're like
Yeah.
annoying to deal with, not really hard.
Yeah, the ads are pretty annoying in Remnant 1. They're a lot less common in Remnant 2, but some
Yeah.
bosses still rely on them to make them complete.
I think that Remnant One's boss design is very much like, okay, we don't know what to do. Well, first of all, we need if multiple people are playing, you need ads because otherwise the boss would get confused.
Mhm.
Um, but if you're playing solo, it's like what all right, well, we don't want to design a boss that does too many things,
Mhm.
right? So let's just rely on enemies, but it just becomes like a okay, now I'm kiting around the boss, killing the enemies, then I'm attacking the boss.
Yeah.
So
What's kind of
I don't
funny
know.
is lots of the bosses in that game are either like pretty close range or melee because it's just easier to design around that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, the boss is gonna try to run at you, so you have to like dodge his attacks and stuff. and it's about basically kiting him because you're better at range. And in Remnant 2, they actually did the opposite, where most of the bosses are actually ranged, but they have a little more intricate move sets, and they don't rely on ads as much.
Oh, just like to slightly interrupt you, I heard a double beep. I thought the fire alarm on my building was about to go off, and I was having like mini panic attack. But I guess it was just the classic "everything's okay" double beep.
Everything's okay, double beep, my favorite.
Yeah.
I love those.
Um. But yeah, so I kind of missed what you were saying about Remnant too, because I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I was just saying that a lot more of the bosses in Remnant 2 are ranged, and they have more intricate move sets, but also don't use ads as much.
Hmm.
Like normally, if a boss has ads, it's because it's needed for the design to actually be like challenging. Because
Yeah.
like the whole like it may be just like a puzzle boss where it's like, okay, well it needs to have ads, because otherwise you're just sitting here and doing the puzzle.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just like early design, it
Yeah.
makes sense. They're still fun. I like the bosses that are shooting galleries essentially. There are
Hmm.
some bosses, like even Undying King had the aspect where some enemies are in the sky and it literally feels like target practice, like precision, like you're
Yeah.
doing like these precision shooting gallery shots. And I think that is fun. Like they don't feel like ads. It feels like, oh, hit these precise shots, like when you shoot the skulls that fly at you in some areas or some other
Yeah. Yeah.
things. It's like, oh, I kind of like that because it feels like an attack that I'm blocking rather than just, oh, spawn 15 of the enemies you just fought to get here. That's the boss. It's like, wow, okay, cool. I can buy 99 vials of red healing juice and never actually worry about this game. Uh yeah, it also, side note, it does feel weird that it seems like I started with the healing spell basically, so
Hmm.
I can put down healing quite often on myself for free, and then I have the Q, which is like the Estus Flask healing, and now I have like basically infinite consumable healing.
Hmm.
So it feels like the only time I'm dying is if I get bursted, but like most of the time I just will be okay.
Yeah. It happens a lot more on higher difficulties, but I do think that the game did have like a lot of healing options. There's actually, now I think about it, there actually might be less healing options in Remnant 2, which is funny because they have classes for it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this is just a side effect of playing on normal, and then it's definitely one of those games where it's like you're meant to keep ramping the difficulty for it to be harder and harder.
Hmm.
I don't. It's not a bad thing. I think it's a pretty good level of challenge so far. It's not been like too crazy, but it's been like it's not like a total cakewalk every time. I die maybe like once or maybe like once on a boss, or maybe like you know what I mean, once or twice,
Yeah,
depending.
I've found that in the Remnant games, the bosses don't kill you quite as much as in Souls games. Like
Yeah.
I would say like harder bosses usually only take me like 5 tries or something like that.
Usually it's just the surprise of like you'll be fighting a boss, and then they'll enter a phase where like an enemy will spawn and one shot you. It's like, oh, okay, I'll
Yeah.
just avoid that next time, I guess.
Hmm.
But I did. So the reason I started to understand the addictiveness is, I kind of understand how the trait system works now.
Hmm.
I didn't quite understand it at first, but now that I realize that there's certain random things you can do, like killing a boss, it just unlocks a new trait for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, unlocking the traits is half of the fun, finding out what wacky traits you can unlock, and then you level them up. And I'm like, oh, I could see how this could be addicting to want to grind out to like get these crazy traits and make weird builds and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
you get infinite trait points in that game, so you don't have to worry about too much about spending them.
yeah, and you can respec, I believe.
Yeah,
So
you can
that's
respec as
good.
well.
Yeah, no, that I could see how that is like fun.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh wow, now I want to go explore everywhere because I could find these weird side rooms that might have like weird stuff in them.
Yeah.
Um,
Since you have the DLC, you should try the survival mode when you get the
yeah.
chance. It's basically like the roguelike mode. Like you just start off with nothing, and I think there's like 10 levels to it, and it'll take you to different places on different planets. So I guess in that sense, I would recommend finishing the game first, actually, because it might spoil a planet for yourself
Well, what's
or
kind
some
of weird
bosses.
about that
But
mode is I don't think it has anything. It like doesn't carry over to any of the other modes.
you can
So
get unlocks. So like I think completing it on certain difficulties gives you unlocks for the regular mode,
okay,
but otherwise it is like isolated. Yeah, like you start off with nothing, and you have like a certain amount of currency at the start, and you can just buy stuff at shops, then go to the first level. Then between each level, you just get to buy more stuff.
I like the idea. I like a roguelike dungeoneering kind of mode in games. Final Fantasy
Hmm.
14 has a couple of those too. A
Pog.
game I have not been playing because I don't my sub is down right now. But if
Hmm.
anyone plays it one day, maybe I'll resub and play.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, that's good. And then so Remnant 2 still holding your attention, still good.
Yeah. So yeah, I not there hasn't been too much, I guess, new. The main thing is so the build I'm trying to do right now. It's built around this mechanic the game has called gray health. So basically, when you take a bunch of damage, a portion of that damage is converted to gray health, and what that means is that that portion of the damage will slowly regenerate.
Hmm.
But if you get hit, it goes away. So like you'll stop regenerating that health. Um, but like the medic class has a perk where the amount of hits it takes to get rid of their gray health increases, and then they also just have a bunch of other obviously healing stuff. And then I'm using a mutator, which is basically like a little upgrade for my weapon, for my melee weapon, which is every time I'm doing a charged attack and I get hit, it converts all of the damage I take into gray health, and then I also can't my charge attacks can't be interrupted, so I basically have infinite poise when I'm doing charge attacks. And then I get a bunch of like health regen stuff, like I increase my gray health regen and base health regen. And then obviously I'm medic, so I have a bunch of other regen stuff. And I just sit there and I hold charge attacks and I just hit the boss. Ideally with a melee weapon that has range.
That's fun.
Yeah. And then
So
obviously
classes.
obviously there's a bunch of damage reduction stuff going on as well, so I don't just get one shotted. But
Yeah, classes seems like a weird weird thing to me from going from one.
yeah,
Uh,
they do a really good job of easing you into it. Because at first you can only get one, and then after a bit they let you get two, and you kinda have to like unlock the classes. Like you don't just get them normally. Like you have to either buy them from some shopkeepers or some some events in the game will give you a class, things like that.
or like you were saying last week, some crazy arbitrary
Oh yeah.
mega like augmented reality game solution to get it.
Yeah. But yeah, the classes are really cool in Remnant 2. They give you a lot of different play styles. Like they do legitimately change the way that you play.
Well, Remnant is pretty cool. Um, so have you been playing anything else this week?
Um have I been playing anything else? Not a lot. I've been playing a little I played a little bit of Dota this week because there was just a new patch. They actually had two new patches. One was like a major patch and they realized they like overbuffed some characters, so they just kind of bonked them a little bit like a couple days later. There was one that was really funny. It was they really buffed Invoker super hard, and he has this ability called Ghost Walk where he just goes invisible and moves really fast, and also slows people around him. And for some reason, they gave him just a absolute shit ton of HP and mana regen during Ghost Walk. So
Hmm.
he was basically like he was going back to Fountain every time he used Ghost Walk.
Why would that seems like a? I mean, I guess throw in crazy things every now and again, like mix it up, mix up the
Yeah.
meta, try something, you know?
Yeah, so
They
the
can always
character was
revert
really
it.
bad for a while. So I guess like they're just trying to throw a lot of buffs and then like adjust after because they did do some other things that were good. It was just that was like really numerically kind of wonky.
Honestly, at least kudos on them for trying something different, you know, and you can change it in a patch cycle.
Yeah,
Better than just making everyone nerfed, you
yeah.
know?
Like Valve is generally pretty good with that. Like it was literally like 1 or 2 days after the patch came out, they dropped the additional
Hot
changes.
fix kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, Dota 2. I was looking through my Steam inventory for Dota 2 items to sell anything.
Hmm.
Everything is literally worthless that I have for that game.
Yeah, I sold a lot of my Dota items recently. The secret is Dota economy is kind of messed up. The only things that matter are basically immortals and arcanas, and arcanas will never sell for over $30 if they're even marketable. There are some that you get like from a battle pass that is never going to be tradable or marketable. Um,
Uh, uh
and then immortals is just some specific immortals people just really like, so the price gets inflated. Like one immortal will be 3 cents and another one will be $300.
Yeah. I thought it would be like honestly, weirdly enough, I think Team Fortress 2 has the strongest older things have
Hmm.
value in the economy. I think it's because Team Fortress 2 kind of started the weird economy thing. Uh so old items weren't as collected in a way, like for selling. So
Hmm.
they still kind of hold their value. Whereas a game like Dota 2, people are like from day one, they're like, oh, okay, items, whatever. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, maybe my old announcer packs or my old whatever, maybe that'll be worth something. It's like everything is worth like 3 cents because
Yeah.
I guess there's so many of them that it whatever. But
I think it's also part of it is that Dota's completely free to play. So like
yeah,
there are just people that just don't invest money into the game at all.
yeah.
Whereas like CS:GO and TF2 both at one point cost money and they um I know TF2 also like some of the things aren't just cosmetic and they're actual guns and things like that.
Yeah, but you can't buy guns on the marketplace technically.
Mhm.
Uh, you can if you buy a if you weirdly enough, Team Fortress 2 tried to have CS:GO skins in it with battle
Mhm.
paints, but that failed miserably. Because they already had stranges, they already had their own system.
Mhm.
So they tried to implement this other system. But anyway, a remnant from that system is you can buy a like you can buy like a paint basically that you could paint a weapon, I guess. But the way it works is you don't actually like use an existing weapon. You use the item and it lets you generate any weapon that you want from that list in that style. So it kind of used to be like new weapons in TF2, lol, new weapons in TF2. But when a
Mhm.
weapons actually kind of had value because people wanted to use them. But now you can just
Yeah.
make any weapon at any time. So and plus the game's been out forever, so weapons aren't really worth anything anymore
Yeah.
except like certain like genuine certain like event weapons that you could only get from events and codes and stuff like that. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I think also part of it might be that those games are first person. So like you can directly see well, not like the literal hats, right? But like the skins for your guns and things like that, you can directly see them. Whereas
mhm,
in Dota, the top down perspective isn't actually very like cosmetic friendly. And the lot some of the cosmetics do have splash art, like the full sets, but it's not
mhm.
like League splash art where it's like people just absolutely love it
I
because
think
it's so, an anime waifu.
a really big well, one League has waifu. League has like appealing costumes because I think the League characters, even though they're very derivative, because Riot Games is, for lack of a meaner term, they're very derivative in their character designs.
Hmm.
A lot of the times, but they're very appealing and you want to have a little Christmas outfit for your character. You want to give them a little
Yeah,
like bathing suit, like oh look, it's Yumi, but it's a cat at the beach or something. It's like that's cute. I want that.
yeah.
Or I mean that was the wholesome example. There's that's
The
I want the
wholesome example.
Awuga skin, you know. So, but uh yeah, the Team Fortress 2 thing, or rather, I think first person games like Valorant and CSGO also have the kill cam flex where you
Yeah,
kill someone and you can like look at your weapon in your hand and it's like this guy's holding a $900 skin.
yeah.
Which honestly makes you look like a loser too much. To be honest, I don't ever look at someone's knife skin and think, "Man, this person's so cool," for either unboxing it but like if they unboxed it, I mean that's cool. I
Yeah,
guess. But if they spent $20,000 on a knife, that's not really cool. That's just like really lame.
yeah.
Um, just poor money management.
Poor money management. Help
Yeah.
help me manage my money. My family's dying. $900 CS:GO knife, $10 groceries, $5 electric bill.
The more expensive the skin, the worse they are at the game too.
Yeah.
So, but not to say that I don't want to try to get like I don't know. I would like to get a cool skin. It looks nice. But I don't want to pay like I'm not paying crazy money.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of it's gambling and all that stuff too. So,
Yeah.
well, anyway, yeah, I've been playing CS:GO because our friend group, pretty much the only games they will ever want to play is like CS:GO, Dota. like a Tarkov, some sort of competitive game. It's just they want to play one of those, so I got to play something.
Yeah, and then they just troll the whole time.
Yeah. We got to get into Hunt Showdown though. I'm
Yeah,
willing to
I do
get
still
back into
have that.
that.
I
Yeah,
did
I'm
buy it
down to
while it was on
play.
sale. I'm down to play that.
It's pretty good. It's a Tarkov type beat.
Yeah, like an extraction
Um,
shooter.
yeah, extraction shooter.
Hmm.
I will say my favorite extraction game so far has been Dark and Darker though. That game kind of goes hard.
Hmm.
I hope it comes out one day.
I
Um,
thought they fully released it recently, didn't they? Or
did
was it
they?
just another beta?
No, 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 no. They had legal trouble last time I saw it. If they did, I know what I'm playing.
It looks like it's not. Maybe it's not on Steam. Is that the problem?
Dark and Darker. Okay, well I'm not downloading
Oh
the
yeah,
Dark and
it
Darker
released on
launcher.
August 7th. It released on August
What?
7th apparently.
Okay. Uh, I that's cool. I don't really want to play it on some weird launcher though.
Damn, you're not trying to play Dark and Darker off of idcgames.com.
Not not I don't care games. No,
I don't
I don't
care
really want to do
games.
that. I can honestly say I don't really want to do that.
Oh man.
Dark and Darker. I don't like that trend. I understand why games would do that because the Steam cut is like crazy. They take a big cut of everything. But at the
Hmm.
same time, I don't want to download your dumb launcher for your
Yeah.
dumb game.
That actually reminded me. Project Loki. They decided to change to their own launcher instead of Steam for their playtests, and apparently it was because Steam was like limiting the amount of keys they could give out or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, they might. I mean, that might be part of it, but I think a
Yeah.
large part of it is just in general for any dev is just like Steam takes money. We could be getting more money. Why don't we make our own launcher?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know like the whole list of like Steam restrictions besides the money thing. So I don't know. There could be other stuff going on.
So if Dark and Darker
Anyways.
comes to a real launcher at some point, that's when the game is released for me, I guess.
So when it comes
Um,
out on Epic Games.
I would play it on. I would download it on Epic before I would download it on their own launcher. I wouldn't be as happy about it, but I would rather do that than. I don't need another launcher to play one game that you like stole that allegedly maybe stole assets from Nexon and is
Oh,
like now no longer on Steam. That's why they got in trouble,
yeah.
even though I don't think they actually did, or I don't know. I don't know what the. I have to see the assets or whatever. But that could be a reason they're not on Steam either, because they're like, oh, we'll just keep selling it anyway, or keep doing whatever.
Yeah, speaking of new launchers, did you
Yep.
hear what game came out on Steam this week?
What game?
Overwatch 2.
Oh yeah, no, we talked about this I think briefly.
Did
Or maybe I talked about it with friends because I was like, ha
Yeah.
ha ha, Overwatch 2 on
Yeah,
Steam.
because it just came
Mostly
out on
negative
Steam.
reviews.
Yeah, it just came overwhelmingly negative. It has 9% positive reviews.
Oh wait, is it back to? It was overwhelmingly negative.
Yeah, it's been overwhelmingly negative for a few days, I think.
Yikes. The
Yeah.
game is still fun. Just like to point that out. People who are butthurt, people who are riding the train. I don't really support the battle pass and all that anymore
Hmm.
because it's like they really did the community dirty and like it's really annoying. But they actually have been having some good updates in terms of I just saw they added a system where they added a system of like mastery for like on
Yeah.
a individual character basis and on like a they added a lot of things to flex, which is good. You can flex
Yeah.
and grind on your characters.
Yeah, I'm
So,
reading some of the reviews right now. People aren't even reviewing the game anymore. Somebody said, instead of wasting your time and money on this game, here's a recipe for Black Forest cake or the Portal cake. It's legitimately the entire recipe with like detailed instructions,
all right,
even
here's
down
the
to the
deal.
actual assembly of the cake.
Here's the deal. People are hating on it now and it's like it's almost it's a bandwagon. It's too much hate. There is
I agree.
reasons to hate on it, but fundamentally you can play and enjoy the game and it's a pretty good experience still. Um but I understand why people were mad and hopefully the negative reception drives them to make it better.
Oh no, the top positive review is literally just a link to Paladins on Steam. Okay.
Paladin, yeah, come on.
Anyway, yes, I agree. I think most of the hate isn't the actual game itself. It's around like the transition from Overwatch 1 to 2 and how rough that was, and just Blizzard as a company.
Mhm.
Like the actual quality of the game is fine, I think generally.
I think it's just a silly. I get, and you people should do the negative, whatever, like get people attention. It is just silly how people like Overwatch bad, but it still is fun. Like that's the thing. Like, don't support the skins. There's a lot of bad practices, but I don't know. It's weird.
Oh man, yeah, lots of the positive reviews aren't actually positive reviews. They're just people saying negative stuff, but it gets more attention because then they're minority, or they're
Yeah.
just linking another game.
Yeah, whatever. We'll see. I foresee that Overwatch in the future, if they don't completely axe it, because I think people still enjoy it and it's a good IP.
Hmm.
I think that there'll be a resurgence and everyone will be like, Overwatch is great. I always loved Overwatch. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
what we see with Cyberpunk a little bit. Um, how everyone's like, Cyberpunk's my favorite game of all time.
I guess the one thing that does concern me a little is I actually don't know how many of the players that are like coming to Overwatch 2 are new players, as opposed to like old Overwatch 1 players that are coming back.
Yeah, that's a good
'Cause
point. I
I
mean,
actually
any
don't
game
know
that's
what that.
free
Yeah, I
draws
actually don't know what
people.
that data like looks like. It'd be interesting to be able to see it one day, but because like actually with Cyberpunk, what was interesting is when the so some of it was old players coming back, but lots of it was like the anime advertising on top of them announcing like DLC and stuff like that. So it's just a
Yeah.
phenomenal like timing for all the marketing and things like that. So it actually did bring in new players.
Yeah, I mean, Overwatch needs to just do like an animated show on Netflix, and everyone will like it
Yeah.
again.
I think
I
they're
think.
actually trying to because they released a like 3 episode animated short. I didn't end up watching it. I heard it was good, and I think they said something along the lines of like, yeah, if this does well, we'll make like a full series,
Well, we'll see what
which would be
happens now
cool.
that the Microsoft acquisition, right? Maybe that'll change things in some way. Uh,
Mayhaps.
I don't know. Who knows? Um, I would like to talk a little bit about the other game I played this week.
Ooh.
I played
Oh wait, one
Undertale.
sec. I'll be right back.
Yep.
I just had to
All right,
run
we're
upstairs really
back.
quick. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I was playing Undertale. So just the
Pog.
for people, I'm gonna spoil Undertale stuff because you've had time. So brief spoilers. So I did the genocide route.
Hmm.
Um, and for those who don't know, that's you kill everything in the game and kill all the bosses and stuff. It's very short because it's kind of like a bonus thing.
Hmm.
And I got to the Sans Undertale fight, the Sans fight, the class, the Megalovania, the meme, the fight. Um, that fight, genuinely, one of the hardest video game things I've had to do in a while. And
Same.
it. Did you beat it? Did you ever do it?
Nah, I didn't ever do it.
Okay, I was like, well, same. Um, so the Sans fight is hard enough that it's okay. It's not even hard technically. It is memorization. It is a
Hmm.
platforming. It is a Kaizo Mario style platforming challenge. It is like playing a
Oh no,
song on an
I
instrument.
I do terribly at that. Whenever the boss
Yeah.
fight is anything but just throwing hands, it do not
It,
do very good.
it's repetition and memorization and trial and
Hmm.
error. So it's like learning a song on an instrument. It's basically
Yeah,
like if you go in, you'll die on this phase. You'll get a little further each time until you've memorized the entire thing. But by the end, you're doing like 50 you're spending like 6 minutes doing the first segment just to get to the 1 second you fail at and then you fail and
yeah.
repeat. So I did that boss probably 50 times maybe.
Sheesh.
Um it took I think it added an additional like maybe 5 hours to my playthrough of the game or something stupid.
Damn, I thought you said that that route was short.
Yeah, it was. It was like 2 hours and then like 3 to 4 hours on the fight. It was like the rest of the route, then the one fight. Um
Clearly, it's because
so
they expect you to take 5 hours to beat the final boss.
So the reason is the thing about that game is it is thematically difficult on purpose so that you die over and even the boss
Yeah.
taunts you up until you die like 20 times or something, or like 10 times, or every
Mhm.
time the boss has unique dialogue and being like, I killed you the eighth time, blah blah blah, and then eventually it just gives up.
Yeah.
um it's thematic. You're supposed to get destroyed, and you're supposed to persevere. Like, the whole point of the game is determination, like in even with the other runs. But instead of being determined through like being determined to mercy kill everyone or not kill anyone, the determination is on the actual player. To, are you willing, are and it kind of fits the theme of the genocide route. It's like, why you're killing everything just because you can, just to see the extra content. You better be so determined that you're willing to like waste your time grinding out here and just
Mhm.
to see, just to kill this guy, just to kill everyone. It's like,
Yeah.
it's actually way harder to not to kill everyone. You The whole run is wasting your time. It's like, it's hard and wasting your time. It's like, you shouldn't be doing this. Like, it's
Mhm.
just, don't do it. But that's the point. The problem is it's not that fun after a while of grinding the same thing over and over again. Um, the
Damn, you also
achievement felt
beat
good.
him
Yeah, I mean, the
beforehand.
achievement felt good after beating him, like getting like being like, man, I did it. But I had so many times where, one, there's a website that exists, that is a simulation of the boss fight where you can play each phase. If you go to like beatsands.com or whatever, you can like, it's a perfect one-to-one creation of the boss fight. So
That's
you can
insane.
practice each phase, which I had to do. I had to practice some of the phases out of order so I would get good at them.
Mhm.
And you can do different scenarios and do the boss or whatever. So I had to practice. The last time I had to practice for something like this, where there's a big lead up, was Jad fight in RuneScape.
Mhm.
Um, so it was one of those things where it was like, it was really a pain in the ass. Like, it took forever, but I am glad I did it in a way. But I'm like, oh my god, I don't know. I don't know how much I think. I think if I was to kill him after 3 or 4 attempts and it was, a little easier, I think I would still get the same experience as if I killed him after my 50th attempt.
Man.
So, but yeah, it was a good achievement in a way. The music's great. That game is pretty good. I might go back and play now that I've beat it that way. It actually affects if I replay the game and gives me like unique options, which I think would be cool to
Oh,
do.
really? That's cool.
Yeah, Undertale is really cool because there's multiple endings and there's multiple variations per ending. And if you
Mhm.
do certain endings in different orders, like, I killed everyone. Now, if I do a pacifist run where I spare everyone, I can't. There's different dialogue that happens in certain areas, and I cannot actually get the true ending without like editing my files on my computer to like
Mhm.
like permanently delete everything. So yeah, it's neat like that. There's some really cool things. There's some meta stuff in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my Undertale adventure. What anything else on your week that you've been doing?
Uh, no, don't really think so.
Just the usual on and
The
off things, I
huge.
guess.
Yeah.
I re-downloaded Witcher 3. I feel like I kind of want to play the DLC. I never played the DLC in that game.
Mhm.
Uh Trying to like maybe play that before I play Cyberpunk when that comes out, I guess, the DLC,
Yeah.
because I want to restart
Oh, yeah, that's coming
Cyberpunk
out
and do that.
really soon. I actually need to So I remember when I played Cyberpunk on my old computer, I had some mods downloaded. One of them was like a respec mod, because you couldn't
Yep.
respec your attribute points. And
I think you could. Oh, attribute points. No,
yeah,
you could not.
I think that that's on my save now. So if I download the game now and I don't remember the mods I had, my save might be screwed.
It's probably worth restarting anyway, just because
Yeah.
apparently the DLC is supposed to change some of how the base game works
Yeah,
and
I was
like
thinking
traits
that
in
too. Like,
general.
yeah, I was thinking I might just restart anyway.
Yeah.
End of the day, it's not. I actually did probably want to redo some decisions anyway because
Yeah.
there was some weapons that I got like locked out of because of decisions I made.
Man, that even when that game was on fire and came out, I understand performance wise, it was unfortunate, and I'm still on the same PC that I played when it launched, so
Hmm.
it's gonna probably still be a little unfortunate. Um, that game was really fun.
Yeah.
and it just is getting better as it goes. So I'm happy about that.
Hmm.
I think I've always been out here being like that game is very good. Um. Anyway, I think let's roll into the questions. I think.
Yeah.
If you have a question, you can email us at hyeppodcast at gmail.com. That is the hyeppodcast at gmail.com. But James, do you want to ask a question first, or do you want me to go through here?
I guess I can ask one first. Hey, podcast hosts. What are some games that you have played when you were younger that you think had really interesting level progression systems?
I think we talked about this level progression systems,
I don't know.
or
I
maybe
do
we
have an
didn't.
answer
But
in mind, but I know I haven't talked about it before.
yeah, let's go. Yeah, what's your answer?
So I was actually going to say the original Call of Duty Black Ops because
Hmm.
so back then every multiplayer shooter was basically like, yeah, you get this gun at this level, but instead Black Ops had a currency system where guns and perks basically cost money that you get by just playing the game, and there were also wager matches where you could essentially get money pretty quickly. Like everybody knows them, like Sticks and Stones and Gun
Oh
Game and
yeah,
all
I,
that
c- I
stuff.
completely forgot about this until you just brought it up.
Yeah, and so it was really cool because it's like whenever there, I remember before in like Modern Warfare 2 and stuff, it was always like, oh yeah, this really OP gun, you have to get level 50 to get, and it's like, well, I want it now. Level 50 is a long time. So instead in Black Ops 1, you could just say like, oh, I'm like level 10, I have enough money to get this gun, I'll just get it now. Uh, Apparently people didn't like it, so they stopped doing it. But
Imagine that today, though. It's like, well, you can do that today, actually, with real money. Just buy the weapon now. I want to be level
yeah,
100 now. Looks at
yeah,
Battlefield and all those games.
yeah. I think new Call of Duty games can have a hybrid where it's like I think you get some things at certain levels, but you can also just buy like attachments and stuff like that.
Yeah. Isn't it wild that there were Call of Duty games that were all of the features and content were in the game, like like it was just on the disc. I
Yeah,
mean, there was DLC kind of, but like you could just unlock everything.
yeah. And
Y-
I remember the last Call of Duty game I played. It was Modern Warfare, like the remake, and I remember. So I was playing like within 3 months of launch, basically. That was like the time where I started playing and then dropped it eventually. And I remember there was a pack. It was like $20 for like a specific knife. And I remember I told my college friends like, yeah, I was really tempted, and then I just eventually ended up buying it. And they're like, well, that's a bad decision. It's like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm telling you. I make bad decisions.
yeah,
And then
I
the there was the first like of the many Call of Duty anime girl skins, or it was like some anime girl with a gun in one hand and like saluting and smiling with the other hand. I just looked at this and I'm like, damn, is this really where we've gone? Like the 40-year-old like conservative dads probably see the skin and just melt.
I don't know if they're. I think they're playing Battlefield. To be honest, I think most of the it's like college kids and children playing Call of Duty. Like the dads are
Yeah,
on Battlefield
I don't know.
before work.
You'd be surprised. I think.
No, they
I
play
remember when I
COD
was
too, but
yeah,
like
I remember when I was playing. I read it to quite a few dads. They would always do when they would get killed. They hit the you got me, and I'd be like, damn.
the chillest way to play those games is like go on like before like early like 5 a.m. or like
Oh
6
yeah,
a.m. and just like the dads before work getting a game in.
yeah,
It's so funny. Just the chillest lobbies in like Battlefield.
yeah.
Uh but yeah, I don't know. So this was sorry, what was the initial question again?
The initial question was, "Hey, podcast host, I'm curious." Actually, wait, crap, I lost it. I was looking at the wrong one. What are some games that you've played when you were younger that you think had really interesting level progression systems?
Okay, level progression. I don't know if I'm gonna say like younger, but I know that like I just think of an interesting way of displaying leveling up. Yakuza Zero. So the rest of the Yakuza series, you punch things and you get like XP. But the prequel Zero does a similar thing where you get money and then you spend the money to level things up, and you can also get money from doing. There's like two big mini games that generate money. So like everything is like bound to your money generation, and you use that to level and stuff. I just think it's kind of an interesting system. I'm trying to think of games that use like a really different kind of level structure. I know actually Final Fantasy 2
Mhm.
has so Final Fantasy 1 is a very traditional NES JRPG. I've beaten that game. It's pretty cool. It's very bare bones, obviously, for the time. But 2 tried to do something different where I believe there's like they have an interesting leveling system. I can't exactly remember what. I think you level up individual like weapon things and individual things. Like there is a very unique weapons leveling system that people didn't really like, but it makes it
Mhm.
unique. And then Final Fantasy like 7 has like the materia system, and you level up skills. And actually, you know what? Path of Exile is a good example. It kind of
Ooh.
goes from that materia slotting system, but in an ARPG, where in Path of Exile you have a giant passives tree, but all your skills are bound to items and stuff. It's kind of
Mhm.
weird, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that those several iterative things would be my answer, I guess.
Mhm.
But I got a question for you.
Okay.
So, do you or what are some games that you think have a really unique multiplayer mode? And I have some
Ooh.
dingers. I have some good ones,
Ooh, yeah, I think I have some good ones as
which I
well.
think you might even say this one. You could
Uh,
say it if.
I can see you typing. I'm actually not going to say that one, though. I do agree that it had cool multiplayer modes. The first one that comes to mind for me is well, there's technically two games in the series, but the Halo series. So Halo
Hmm.
Reach had Invasion, where it was one team played as Spartans and one team played as elites, and one would be sieging the enemy base, and you would have to capture one point, and then it would go to the next area. You would usually get some vehicle spawns on the attacking team, and then you'd have to like capture a second point, and then there'd be a third one, and then everybody has like really good vehicle spawns, and as you're kind of scaling throughout the game, and like the quality of your vehicles, the quality of your weapons and loadouts, and armor abilities, I believe. And yeah, it was really cool. I have some really good memories playing that.
I feel like
Especially on
Halo's. Mhm.
especially on I think it was called Spire, where it was like it was this map with this giant, well, like Spire, it was a giant tower, and you basically had to get on top of it. You had to like take a payload and you had to bring it back to your base. But this thing was like hundreds of feet in the air, so you'd have people on like in like planes, and or I guess they were technically helicopters, like helicopters flying up. I think they were called Hornets, Falcons, can't remember, one or the other. Anyway, people in helicopters, they'd like fly up and pick the guy up, and then you get like shot down with a rocket or something. Some people did a thing where there was like a jump you could do where you jump off of the top and land on like a gravity pad.
Mhm.
Um, and lots of people just died trying to do it. It was pretty funny. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then in Halo 5, which was otherwise a pretty controversial game, actually, they had this mode called Warzone, which I think it was Spartans versus Spartans. I can't remember if I don't think there were elites or anything in that game, but it was Spartans versus Spartans, and each team had a base, like at opposite ends of the map, and it was basically like a big team battle mixed with the invasion mode I mentioned previously, with capture points, um, a core in the enemy's base that you had to destroy, and uh, like PVE bosses around the map. Some of them were pulled from single player, some were original. But it was just
Mhm.
really cool because like there'd be like a hunter or something in the middle of the map that you had to kill for I think it was for like vehicles and stuff like that and
Oh
power
yeah,
weapons.
Destiny 2 kind of did that later with that one mode that I forget the name of that had the PvE stuff.
Hmm.
Crucible? What was it called?
Might have been
Uh
Crucible. Can't remember.
yeah,
I
it was
think
like
Crucible
PvE
might
PvP.
is Crucible the general PvP or is it a specific mode?
I don't remember. I do
Can't remember.
remember there being a PvP PvE mode where you would fight and kill things.
Hmm.
But yeah, so my games, shout outs to Assassin's Creed multiplayer, which
Hmm.
had some of the most unique and weird multiplayer, and it was so fun. Um, I had some of the later Assassin's Creed games like Revelations and stuff where I think the games weren't even that good, but the multiplayer was just fun. Um,
Hmm.
did you ever play the Assassin's Creed multiplayer?
Yes, I remember. I think I played the Brotherhood multiplayer.
Hmm. It's the same thing, I think. So basically, if you haven't played it, you play as an assassin, and you're against other assassins, and you have to blend in with the crowd. Like they're in a giant crowd of NPCs, and you have to assassinate people and hide and do stuff like that. And you have like smoke bombs and gadgets and stuff, and
Hmm.
you can like level up. And it's genuinely some of the most like fun I've had in a multiplayer game, because it's just so unique in terms of like gameplay, compared
Yeah,
to other multiplayer games. There's nothing quite like it. Kind of a proto Among Us, if you will, but more actiony.
yeah.
Um, really good. And also, I would say, unless you have any more final thoughts on Assassin's Creed multiplayer,
No, I think that's about it. It was real. It
uh,
was really cool. I remember having a lot of fun with it.
there's all the Metal Gear Solid games with Metal Gear Online, which I never really got to play too much of Metal Gear Online. My Metal Gear Online experience came in the PSP game Portable Ops Plus, where you could uh, get soldiers and fight people online and do stuff. It was pretty interesting. Like it was like you would do different game modes, like there's team deathmatch and things, and you could like bet your soldiers, so you could play for keeps. So if you lost, you would like lose your whole team, and you would have to go out into the game and like find new soldiers. And they had different stats and stuff. Uh, it was cool, although I didn't realize there was a difference between Portable Ops and Portable Ops Plus as a kid. So Portable Ops had a story campaign; it was actually like a video game, and Plus
Hmm.
was actually like an expansion for the online mode that basically didn't have the single player stuff. So I was a little disappointed, but that game weirdly in my mind, Portable Ops Plus holds like a special place. I don't know why. It's just very
Yeah.
nostalgic.
Hmm.
But yeah. So all right, moving on from multiplayer games. Uh, do I need to ask you a question, or do you need to ask me a question? I've already
Uh,
forgotten. I think
I
you
don't
need to
know.
ask me a
Me
question.
either.
Well, if you see
um.
one that really calls out to you, go for it.
Yeah, I'm just looking through them.
We gotta get a
Uh,
couple more questions. We'll go get some more questions.
yeah, we do need some more questions.
Eventually.
There's some in here that that we've had before that we haven't deleted. I'm just cleaning some of them up.
Yeah. I guess I'll ask you something while you're looking through. How about games with really interesting character customization? And by really interesting, I mean just like, what about games that have these really in-depth
Oh,
character?
oh no.
I don't know.
First, first game that came to mind is a bit of a sad one.
Yeah.
First one I thought of was Brink.
Oh no, Brink.
I remember I was so excited for that game. And like the day it came out, I played the game and I'm like, this is like my first disappointment in a game as a child. I'm like, wait, what happened? This isn't the game in the trailers. It is. Oh my
Poor
god.
Brink.
Uh,
That
it,
we've talked about Brink on this podcast more than people have played Brink.
yeah, I mean, it was the game was playable. To be fair, like it wasn't. It was like a little, just a little below average.
Poor Brink.
Yeah, like it wasn't as so like comparing it to average game, it wasn't a particularly big disaster, but like it was supposed to be like the savior of the genre. It was to usher us into like a new age of games, which to be fair, it kind of did. It was the first to do like the wall running and stuff like that, or not literally the first, but it was one of the ones that popularized it. You know, we still see that today with like Titanfall and with some Call of Duty games.
Do you find that you actually spend a lot of time customizing a character if a game has those options, or do you just not care?
If it doesn't impact gameplay, not particularly. Like yeah, because like what was cool about Brink is like it had some cool character customization, but it also impacted like the guns you could use because there was like a weight system. It also and it impacted your movement abilities. You know, the smallest class could basically only use SMGs and pistols, but you could like fully wall run and you had like a double jump, I think.
Hmm.
And then like the heavy class could obviously use like the shotguns and miniguns and all that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of this question more from a perspective of like MMOs, even where
Hmm.
like Black Desert Online for a while was like this crazy game that had just you could make the most intricate customized character of all time. And that used to appeal to me, but the older I've gotten, the less I care. Just give me like give me like 10 faces, 10 haircuts, whatever. Let me pick from presets and make a character, instead of just being able to do. There's too many choices sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, I will say there was a game called APB Reloaded All Points Bulletin.
Hmm.
I don't think it exists anymore.
I think
That
I've
game had
heard of
some of the
that.
coolest customization stuff. It was a game where it was like a GTA online type game where you could ride around and do stuff in an open world. Then there was like shootouts and fights. Had
Yeah.
horrible pay to win, like
Yeah, I
horrible
I actually
pay to
remember I
win.
did play this, but my PC couldn't run it. So it was like
Yeah,
I was running around at like 10 frames.
but the cool thing was it was so customizable. You could customize your character. You could make custom spray paint to like paint on walls. You could make custom vehicles, custom like sounds. You could make custom sounds when you killed people and do like that level of customization is that's fun. Any game that lets you make custom sounds is
Hmm.
always fun, or like custom designs like Animal Crossing, I don't know, to a lesser
Yeah.
extent, just that stuff, like making a funny flag and then having like a funny meme song play is always going to be good fun. Hard to moderate, but good fun.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for my question, it's probably gonna be the last one, and it should be a quick
Yep.
one. Um, Hi, podcast hosts. I grew up playing a lot of simulation games. Are there any sim? Wait, no, that's not the one I was looking at. Actually, no, this is fine. Are there any simulation games from your childhood that you think deserve more recognition?
Huh. Simulation games. I don't really play simulation games. Honestly, I would say if I'm thinking of Sims, I'm thinking of The Sims and
Yeah.
Max's games. They have a lot of recognition. I maybe Spore. People dunk on it because it wasn't as good as it could have been, and that's fair. What I never see anyone talk about is the DLC Spore Galactic Adventure, which they came out with, where it was an expansion where basically it took Spore, and it was almost like Dreams and or Little Big Planet, where you could make your own adventures and like do like semi pseudo scripting and like
Hmm.
script out these user generated levels. And I'm a fan of any user generated content games, so that I don't think it's really that good, to be honest.
Yep.
But I think it's so forgotten. Like no one ever talks about Galactic Adventure, and Galactic Adventure actually had a fun marketing campaign with a bunch of Robot Chicken people. They got them to like make levels in their engine, and it's
Hmm.
funny because they're trying to keep it PG-13 basically, but it's the Robot Chicken people. Just
Yeah.
like they're on YouTube still, it's worth watching Robot Chicken Galactic Adventure because they just kind of like shit on the game a bit. They're just like, "Oh man," like they're just kind of making fun of it to the developer's face like while they're doing it, but
Hmm.
um I don't know. I think that game deserves a little more than zero recognition. What
Yeah.
about you?
Um. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit because technically these games are simulation games. I think the one I played, it was a WWE 2K game,
Okay.
and I think was it WWE 2K10 or something like that. I just remember I had the game because my brother bought it for Xbox 360, and I wanted to try it. And I remember I tried playing online, and every time I would just walk up and I would just get my ass beat, and it was hilarious because I was so confused. But I think that is a crucial experience that everybody should have. Just playing WWE 2K10, walking into the ring, walking up to a guy and getting body slammed.
That's the fighting game way. Like when
Yeah.
you're first playing a fighting game, you go online, you're done. You're toast.
I think the best part about it is like in fighting games you'll get like comboed. But in that game it was literally it's one move and it's over.
He just like DDTs you.
Yeah.
He's just like, "Oh, I'm done." Oh my god. You get like you get like yeah, KO'd
Yeah, and literally just got
immediately.
RKO'd right off the bat and it was just over.
Oh my god.
This dude just walked up and hit me with a table and I was
That's
out.
so stupid. Yeah, I don't know. Shoutouts to I wish there was more like simulation RPG games. There are some that exist,
Mhm.
where like there's some games. I think one of the most underappreciated, undertapped genres is the sports game with a story mode that
Oh
is
no.
like, no, not like NBA 2K, like the NBA players being like, I think you're gonna do
Oh
good
man.
at the game.
Who would have thought a young buck like you?
Yeah, no, not that. I'm talking like there's a game called like Golf Story, and there's some other games like Sports Story and stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
basically I like the idea of a game where you play the sport, right? So it's like soccer, right? But you level up your character and you can level up your stats, but you're playing soccer in like real matches, but sometimes you have other things where you're in an open world and you're kicking a ball around and you kick it and it's like you're playing
Yeah.
soccer, but you're not using a ball and you're not using a real net. You're using like a can and you kick it. You use the mechanics of a soccer game to solve puzzles and stuff. Like that's a cool
Yeah,
mechanic.
that is pretty cool.
And some games have done that, but I think people need to do it more. Like there should be a baseball game where literally the whole game it's like this open world Metroidvania, but you keep getting different bats and you have to hit the ball. Like it'd be a cool VR game. You have to like
Mhm.
hit the ball into like different holes to solve puzzles, and like you have a grappling hook. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
feel like there should be like more games that do that because I think they're really kind of a unique thing. Like recently, I got this game called I think it's like Yuka's delivery service, Island Express.
Mhm.
The game is a pinball Metroidvania. So you walk around and then do pinball mechanics, but it's a Metroidvania. It's like, yeah, more fusions of mechanics. They're cool. Make new
Yeah.
stuff. Anyway,
Counter argument. How
yes,
about I make a puzzle in an FPS and have you shoot at all the parts of the puzzle in order to complete it?
called Portal.
Very creative.
Well, no, there's some other games that you use guns to do puzzles and stuff. No, I like
Oh,
that, but
sheesh.
like,
Call of Duty probably did it at some point. Let's be honest.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Just take weird, like first person breakout, like make weird combinations of genres that shouldn't go
Yeah.
together, like racing dating sim, like weird stuff.
Hey, that could
All
actually
right,
work.
here you go. Free idea. Racing dating sim. Call it speed dating.
Oh my
And
god.
you're in a car, and every time you pass by, you have to like do your prompts really quick to do speed dating. Easy indie game.
It's like you're drag racing with somebody, and at the end you lose, and you find out that it's somebody that you think is really cute.
If anyone needs literal $1 million successful ideas, hit me up. Um, I'm an ideas guy. No, that's the worst guy to be, but still.
Man,
All right, let's just call it a day. I gotta go gamble on
call
CS:GO.
it duh.
Goodbye, everybody.
Why?